All right. Andy is my guest today, and I'm so excited to have her on. The first time me and Andy hung out in person, we talked for hours and hours and hours. She's just one of those people that I know I was friends with, like previously in whatever your belief is before we came here. And just one of those like people that I just connected with instantly. So, of course, I wanted to bring Andy on and share her with you. So, thanks, Andy.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Jesse.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have followed you and been friends with you for a little while in the online world, but do you want to give a little introduction to who you are, kind of like where you got started, where you kind of came from, just like a little background into who you are?
Sure. That's also a loaded.
I know, right?
How did I get here? That's a really good question for us all to ask. Uh, so I started blogging back in 2013 to kind of share my journey and my story of how I lost weight. At my heaviest, I was 170 pounds, and for someone who's like 5'2" and a petite build, that was it was a not a healthy weight for me to be at. And I got to this point where I was tired all the time. I didn't have any energy. I did not like who I was in the mirror, and I just was done not liking who I was. So I decided that I was going to get fit and get healthy. And I lost 30 pounds, and I was on this journey of learning what works. There's so much information out there, and it's overwhelming and all consuming. One site will say one thing, one site will say another thing. So I really wanted to share my journey and simplify the process and make it easy for people to not only lose the weight, but have it become a part of who they are and really enjoy health and wellness and enjoying being healthier and a happier version of themselves. And that came through. Not only did I lose the weight, because yes, that's important because I needed that for my own health, but I gained more confidence in myself and who I was in this process. And it was more than just losing the weight. It was more like this learning that I was meant for more, and that I was to actually show up in the world in a different way and to share what I've learned. And that is what I love sharing with people and helping them see that in themselves. I always say my superpowers is I see superpowers in other people.
You know what? And I love that superpower so much. And I feel like that's something that I am really good at too. So that might be another reason why we connect so well. But
Yes.
in sharing your story, I just got thinking about how many times I've heard like a similar thing of it started with weight loss. It started with I didn't feel healthy, I needed to lose weight, and then it gets so much deeper. Like it's almost like that's just like the little like tipping point to like push you to do something, and
I
then it becomes this bigger journey, like so much deeper.
I always say that typically when you have an excessive amount of weight that you need to lose, it's because you've got stuff underneath that needs healing because you're trying to hide yourself from the world with this weight. That can be abuse, that can be the stories that you told yourself, so much conditioning and so much weight is actually in that weight that you're carrying on your human being. So if we can get in and heal and talk about what actually is causing the weight gain and not just you're overeating, you're not taking care of yourself, there's actually usually a story there that has got, especially when it's an excessive amount of weight. There's usually something there that has put you into that place. And I love diving deep with my clients and helping them figure out what that is so they can get healing and let it go. And for me, I was abused as a kid, and that really put me in a place where I didn't want to be seen or sexualized. So I put on this weight, and it wasn't until I was able to let that pain go and know it was safe to be seen that I was able to really let that weight go and then step back into my sexuality in a safe place.
Yeah. And that makes so much sense. And I think it's just one of those things where like the weight, if that's what it is, right? And, I think a lot of us struggle with that, or a lot of us struggle with just not feeling comfortable in our own skin or confident in our own skin. It doesn't matter if it's an excessive amount of weight or if it's just, we just don't feel good.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, that like it's like this just deeper thing. And I loved what you said at the beginning. Well, I didn't love that you said you didn't like yourself, but how do you feel about yourself now?
I love who I am. And I have gained some of that weight back and I lost that weight again. But to me, it's not about a weight anymore. I love who I am. And I do the things, I work out and I eat healthy, not because I'm trying to look a certain way or, be smoking or anything like that. It's because I love myself and I want to take care of this human body that I've been given. And it's more out of responsibility and because of love. Just think about the way that you treat your kids. You're not going to feed them garbage all day. You're going to make sure they get the vegetables. You're going to make sure they move. You're going to make sure you take care of them and nourish them so that they can grow and be healthier. And that's the love that you need to show yourself. And that is a place that I've shifted to, is I now nourish myself. If I need a nap, I take a nap. If I need to run really hard today because that's what my being needs, that's what I do. I just have become more in tune with what my body needs. And I really don't care what the outcome is because I'm coming out of these things from a place of love.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about that? What's so funny is it's so easy to see that and apply it in other people, like our kids, right? Most of the people here listening are moms.
Right.
And just like you said, we don't feed our kids vegetables to be like, your body's awful and you need this vegetable, right? Like we feed them because we're like, this is good for you. This is going to help you. Like, and same thing with like, you need a nap. Like you're seeming very ornery. Like you probably need some extra sleep. Like it's so easy to see how we can give that love and support to our children or people in our family or even our friends. But then like, I don't know why it's so hard to like flip that mirror around on ourselves to be like, actually, no, you don't like, why we can't do that. Like there's such a disconnect with being able to offer that love to everyone else. But then when we do it to ourselves, it's like out of such a different place. Like it comes from not love. It comes from like shame, or you need to be better, or you're not good enough, or, all of these. It's just so funny because it's there in us. We have the capacity to be able to do that because we're doing it all day long for other people. But getting that shift to be able to do it to ourselves is like, I don't know why it's so tricky.
I think our inner mean girl is a bee.
Yeah,
and nonstop. And if I, as I went on this journey, I'm much better with it now. I mean, she still shows up from time to time. Like she's still there. My inner Regina George, she's still there. But like, for the most part, like I've been able to quiet her and understand, okay, that's what you're saying, but where is that coming from? Is it because I'm fearful? Is it because I'm afraid? Why are you so mean about this? Or I ask questions when she shows up. I get curious as to why these thoughts are coming in. I dive deep and I ask, okay, all right, you're saying this to me, but why? Why is this fear? Why am I being triggered by what this person's saying? That I feel insecure or that I feel small or whatever it is that shows up. There's usually a reason or something I need to look at in myself when she shows up. Yeah. And I ask her questions and I get curious when she decides to show up. But before, when she reigned the party, like I would have probably punched myself in the face by the things I was saying to myself. Like I was mean to myself. Yeah. So mean. If I treated myself like others the way I treated myself, I would have no friends.
And I think most of us can totally relate to that.
Oh, got shot.
So I have a question for you then. When we're putting the brakes on, if we're like, okay, I got real, like Regina George has taken up residence in my brain and she needs to go. Like, do you have any like tips on how you pump the brakes on that mean girl? Or you said you ask yourself a lot of questions. Do you have a couple questions that are like common ones that keep coming up that you're like, all right, we got to ask ourselves this question again? Or like if I'm starting, you know what I mean? Like if I'm starting at the beginning.
Okay. So if you're starting at the very beginning and you're dealing with Regina George, she's strong. The best thing I can do is what I tell my clients is, okay, so imagine that those things that you're saying to yourself, I want you to envision your daughter, your son, somebody you love very deeply, that you were saying those things to them, how quick would you stop?
Yeah.
Immediately. So I want you to reframe and pretend like those things that you're saying to yourself, you're saying to someone that you like deeply love.
Okay.
And that will stop you pretty damn quick. And if you can then say a few things that you do love about yourself and get yourself back to love quicker. And for some of us at that time in our lives, when we're really starting to make that shift, it's going to be simple stuff like I'm a good mom, or I'm a good human, or I'm kind. Because it's going to be harder for you to say something like I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, because you're not there yet.
Yeah.
And it might have to be outer stuff like I have pretty eyes, or whatever it is that you feel good about yourself. I would encourage you to write down all the things you are confident with in yourself. You're a good mom. I'm a good wife. I do these things, and I'm a good on the PTA board, or whatever it is that you feel confident in, and go to that list when you need that shift to love.
Yeah.
But first, pretend like you're saying those things to someone you love, because that is a really quick trigger switch to get you away from pointing at yourself, because there's no way that you're going to say those things to somebody you love. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I'm sure there are some moms out there that would, but we're not those women. I'm pretty sure anybody listening to your podcast is not there.
Exactly. Right. And as you were saying that, that's something I do a lot too, is I try to separate myself from me, step outside and have it be an outside thing. And as you were saying that, I kind of got thinking, I'm like, or say it out loud, because how many times are our mean thoughts, they're just in our head. We don't say them, but if you were to stand in the mirror and actually say it out loud, you'd probably be like, whoa, pump the brakes. That was rude. But when it's just this running dialogue that nobody double checks, it can go rampant. So
right.
I love the idea of picturing you saying it to somebody else, but also not to lean into it, but maybe say it out loud and see how that feels, and be like,
hey,
ouch.
And putting a voice to it.
Yeah.
And writing it out and then burning it.
Yeah.
Putting a voice to the craziest, wildest things that are in your head, just getting them out and looking at them from a completely scientific, observant point. What is showing up when I let myself go full force into negativity? What am I seeing?
Yeah.
And there can be some really important things and themes that you're seeing that can help you make some serious shifts when you just let it all out. And because, when you have your children and they're scared of something in the closet, as soon as you shine a light in there and you're like, look, hon, there's nothing in there to be scared of. It's totally fine, because you shined the light on it.
Yes.
We can do the same things with those thoughts and fears inside our head by shining light on them and letting them be seen. Because then the power goes away. They no longer have power over you because you're seeing them.
Yeah. I think that that's actually really huge, because the things that we keep secret and the things that we keep dark and locked away in that closet, where it's just building and building, but shining the light on it. And to get away from the metaphor, I mean, I love analogies and metaphors, but to get actually practical, how do you shine the light on that? What are some of the things, the very tactical and practical things you can do to shine that light on it? Because I think a lot of us are living, where it's just that dialogue that's just running, where we're not checking ourselves. And what do we do in actual real life to shine the light?
The best thing you can do is just spend some time journaling. And I really encourage free form journaling, where there's no structure, there's no and it's really good to do when you're in a space of receiving and opening. So after meditation, and when you are kind of in a clearer space, I'm just saying, okay, what do I hate about myself? What do I not want to see and view in my life? What am I hiding? And ask those kind of questions and just write
Yeah.
and see what comes up.
I think asking questions is huge.
So huge.
So huge. And something that I love that you've been doing is your daily prompts on Instagram. Like I even like message you. I'm like, will you please put those somewhere? Because if I miss a day. And it's just a quick little question that gets you thinking. And prompts like that are helpful because it's a question that gets you thinking while you're training yourself. If asking yourself questions and getting curious with yourself is a new practice for you, it can be kind of like you pull out your journal and you're like, and there's nothing, like my mind is blank. And so those are helpful for getting started, for getting like practice of like, okay, now let's get these thoughts flowing. And then from there, like different thoughts can trigger and can come up. And so I love that you're doing that because it really is like opening, it's like a stepping stone for getting aware with ourselves and being able to question ourselves more. Cause a lot of us aren't used to doing that. You know, we've just been living on like autopilot and going with the flow and like staying busy, and we're not connected and in tune with ourselves. And I think that's, you know, when we start doing that, it can be a little bit scary. We might not know where to start. So I love the idea of journaling and the idea of meditation and just doing like these little things where you start to get to know yourself a little bit more.
There's so much power in asking yourself questions and getting to know, because every bit of you is magical and powerful. And there's so much goodness into all of you. You are every single human is a big deal. We all are. We're all amazing big deals. But sometimes we shove the darker sides of ourselves and we don't look at that part of ourselves. And sometimes there's gold there. If we let that side of ourselves that we've repressed, usually the things that we've repressed the most in ourselves are actually the things that are our power sources, that are the most important parts of us that we need to share with the world, because that's why we were here. It's that part of our darkness, our story in that dark, that we're meant to shine light on and share with the world. And so really paying attention and getting deep and asking these questions and doing I think the spiritual community calls it shadow work. But really, like, there's lots to be learned there, and diving into these areas of yourself that you haven't talked about or you haven't looked at, it's transformative. And that's how your life will shift and change, is looking at these stories that you buried in yourself.
Yeah. I love that. And, you know, Kay, I want to, along the same line, but shifting a little bit, I want to know your opinion on shoulds. Because I think that's where we get a lot of the stuff that's buried, is because we're living in a land of should, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we live in a should world. You should do this. You should do that. But I guarantee you, all of us on this planet were not born to should.
No,
we were not. We were meant to be the most beautiful, exquisite version of God in this world in our own beautiful way. There's no shoulds.
Yeah. Everything. Can we all just like pledge right now, everyone? Like, we're not shoulding anymore.
We're not should in this place. And
that's a t-shirt idea.
If you did one thing to shift your life in 2022, is that you gave yourself permission to release yourself from all shoulds. Societal shoulds, religious shoulds, whatever it is that you put yourself in a box and you contained yourself in this box. And if you freed yourself of all the shoulds and you really got intentional and listened to your soul and what your soul wants to do, and you listened to only that and not what anyone else told you should do, if everyone did that, what an amazing world we would live in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can be really hard. And I think, again, that's where asking yourself a question could be really dynamite. If you've got something where you're like, well, I should do that, or I should have done that. That's when you say, well, why? Right?
Yeah.
And then you can dive like really deep into that.
Dive really deep. And then also pay attention to how you feel.
Yeah.
Listen to your inner guidance. Every single person on this planet has a way to connect with their soul, whether that be through a gut feeling or an emotional feeling. We all feel and connect in different ways with ourselves. And if you can figure out what your guidance system is and what it looks like and how you feel a yes or a no, then you can free yourself of those should, because you know what you're supposed to do, not from what someone's telling you to do. It's what you know you are meant to do and what you're built to do. Has nothing to do with what someone's telling you.
Yeah. Along with shoulds.
Okay.
What do you feel about timelines? Because I think that's something too, where we feel like, well, I can't do it right now because of this, either like limitations on our time or thinking we're too late or thinking like, all of these things that keep us from stepping into like what we really want to do, like the obstacles and the excuses we give ourselves. How do we combat that?
That is a really good question. Oh my goodness. I think about that for a second.
I'm still trying to work through it myself. So,
I mean, that's what we're all here for, right? So there are things in our life that are going to call to us to be done at a certain time. And you're going to feel within your soul, like, this is what I need to be doing right now, or it's not. Someone might be asking you like, oh, I want to do this. And you'll know like, oh, that's not the right time for me. So it goes back to really listening to yourself. And the one thing I do want to free everybody who's listening to this podcast from is somebody else's timeline for your life. Mm-hmm. There's no timeline for your life. There's no right or wrong way to be a human. There's nothing. There's no shoulds. There's no timeline you have to follow. You don't have to be married by a certain age. You don't have to have kids by a certain age. You are your own expression of who you're meant to be, and you're right on time. Yeah. Like, I can look back at my life and I can get really bitter at that I played out that part of my life for so long where it felt like I felt really constrained, or it didn't feel like I was living in who I was meant to be. And I can get bitter and I can get mad at myself. But all those things that I did that may have been wrong choices or right choices, there's no right or wrong on any of that, because that led me to where I'm meant to be now. Yeah. It all happened in divine timing. I can look back and get mad, or I can be like, oh, I wish I would have done it different. But then I wouldn't have had the lesson. Exactly. Andy, when I'm talking to you, the feeling that I just get is so much like freedom. Like so much light. And I like it just feels light and airy and free and like refreshing. And it's almost like, yeah, like if you can let these go, if you can let the shoulds go, if you can let the timelines go, if you can let even the regret go, like you were just saying, like, oh, I wish they would have done this differently. Like if you can just kind of, and easier said than done, or else we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But like letting go of all of the like shackles and rules and restraints and coulds and shoulds and woulds and timelines. And like, yeah, like I said, easier said than done. But if bit by bit, you can just slowly start shedding some of these things. Yeah. Wow. So a few years ago, I think it was right about 2020, I kept having this reoccurring dream where I was jumping off a cliff and like shackles and balls and chains were like breaking off my arms, and I jumped and I flew. And I let go of everything that I had known and I just jumped. And in so many ways, that dream has come true over the last years, that I have let go of things that I thought I knew, because I started following what I felt and what my heart was telling me, not what people told me I should do. Yeah. And when I stopped listening to everyone else and what they thought I needed to be and how I needed to show up in this world, and I let go of all of that, I basically unlearned everything I had learned all my 40 years of life. And I gave my permission to myself to let it all go and to allow what was actually true and what was actually me to come back to me. And I held on to those things that were actually a part of who I was. And it has given me such freedom because I didn't hold on to anything because I felt like I should, or I had to, or that was the right thing I should be doing. And that is the only right way to do things. And I allowed myself to open my mind to whatever the universe wanted to show me.
Yeah.
And
like, how much brighter and like vibrant are you living now?
I'm so much more in alignment with who I know I'm meant to be. And opportunities and people are being guided to me like they've never been before. And like, it's just so crazy when you open yourself up and you say, okay, I am a control freak. I don't know if you know that about me, but like, it's hilarious. I'll go to like my massage to get a massage or get my nails done. And they're like, relax. You need to relax. They'll like slap my hand to like relax my hand. Or my massage therapist will be like, will you, like, you don't need to help me. Like, let go. It's really hard for me to like let go and to relax and to trust. That is a paradigm of my life. But the one thing that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has shown me in the last couple of years is that I need to surrender and trust the plan that is being placed and the timeline that I'm being placed on, and to let go. And when I embraced that fully and just said, okay, I trust that I am going to show it with all, like, I don't know. Are you familiar with the tarot cards?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the tarot card that is the Tower. And I've gone and gotten a couple of readings just for fun because I'm super curious as well. And every single time, do you know what dang card shows up for me? The Tower. And that is like your entire life collapsing around you with a rebirth and a new story emerging. And so I am fully surrendering to that my life has completely blown up in so many ways. For those of you who have followed me for a while and know that I had an Instagram account with over 48,000 followers, and it was a big part of my income, and it burnt down. And I was politely, I don't even know what happened to it. I just got booted. I think I said something too much about natural immunity, and they didn't like that. So I've had to reinvent myself in so many ways over the past couple of years. And it's kind of comical that I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. The Tower, letting my life burn around me.
Tower's just going to keep sneaking itself into that deck for you.
Yeah. That's my theme. I just have to keep coming out of the ashes.
So I'm curious though, knowing that you said it showed up a couple of times. The first time, was that one of those things where you resisted it? And then after it kept showing up, you're like, okay, fine, we'll lean into this. Or were you always kind of like...
By the time I actually allowed myself to go see somebody who was reading tarot cards, I pretty much...
That's true.
pretty much open to anything at that point. So it was just kind of a confirmation that, yes, I was letting go of anything that I felt was holding me back or that didn't feel in alignment with who I truly was. And I mean, if you're open enough to something like that, then you're pretty open.
That's true. And I like the word alignment that you keep using. And I think of like the opposite, which is kind of like a resistance or like things that aren't lining up. Right. And I think if you can do that, if you can take the idea of being fully immersed in something and just going with it, like, situations are going to come up that are out of our control. And, we're going to be in circumstances that we don't want to be in, that we want to try to get out of. And a lot of times, the more we force ourselves, this is just my experience, the more we force ourselves to be like, no, I hate this. I don't want to do this. That like level of suffering like skyrockets.
Oh, yeah.
But as soon as I can be like, all right, this is where we're at. This sucks really bad and I don't want to be here. But like, this is where we're at. So what can I learn? How can I help someone else through it? Like all these different things. When you like lower that guard and that resistance and just kind of like let things flow. Again, like it's so interesting how language helps us too. Like all of these words like light and release and flow and like you can just feel it in your body too. Like you feel better. Yet all of us sit here and resist it more and then cause ourselves more pain and suffering. So,
and I think the resistance comes because we're continuing to live in a place where we should do things, or we're trying to confine ourselves to a box that society, our parents, our conditioning has placed us in. And if we can step outside the box and push out anything that we have confined ourselves to, then it's easier for us to step into alignment because we're pushing aside that resistance of what we think we are supposed to be doing or what we've been told throughout our lives. There's so when I dive deep with people, I love learning about the stories that they have held since their childhood, because so many of how we're showing up as an adult are things that we held on to from when we were children. And these wounds and these stories are just not true. But as a kid, we were told that, so we just assumed it was true. And so even like letting go of all those stories we told ourselves or we were told as children, like it's such a magical process when we really just get real with ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, we're at the point where we have let go of stories now. We've kind of dived with ourselves, asked some good questions, processed some things, called out our Regina George. What about now, like moving forward, like writing our story, right? Now we've kind of like processed the old story, but how do you move forward, like, and write our own story without leaning into control, right? Because I think that can be the next thing. Like you processed everything and be like, and now I'm going to do it this way, and it's still control. So how do we,
So this is the best news and this super exciting part of being a human. If you can write all that chaos, because we are the creator of our own life,
right?
Whether we create chaos or we can now take that energy we use to create chaos and all these not necessarily terrible because they were all learning experiences, right? But we can now shift that energy. If you're a warrior, that means you have a really active imagination. And that's a good thing because you can now take that energy of imagination and take that and start imagining what you want your life to look like. And it's not about putting control of it. It has to look a certain way. I mean, definitely, like I want a house that has 5 bedrooms and like you put energy into that's called manifesting. That's good. But you still need to allow yourself as you're creating this new world for yourself, spend time like, okay, I want my marriage looks like this, but I want it to look like this. Start writing about how you want your marriage to look and feel like, and start living in that a little bit every day. When I started doing that with my own marriage, I mean, Kelly and I have always had a really good relationship. We're just really good friends, but there were things that I wanted more of in our relationship. So I really started focusing on what I wanted our marriage to look like. And so things that I never thought would shift in him, like I was like, oh, it's never going to happen. Like he's never going to change. And then like he would respond to that energy that I was putting out there every day. And like he would constantly surprise me with like these shifts and ahas that he would have on his own, because I was starting to see him in a different light and what I wanted our marriage to look like in a completely different light. And then do the same thing with like your business or your relationship with your children, or like every aspect of your, like, what do you want your physicality to look like? What do you want your body to look like? What do you want your relationship with your body to look like? And you start building these parts of your lives and writing a new story and just living in the emotion, the joy, the excitement of what that looks like for you. And you just live in it a little bit every day, and you will start to see momentum shift in what you're creating. It's so fun when people turn on to this energy of that they're able to create and make changes in their life. I love it because they're like, guess what? I wanted to make an extra $500 a week and I didn't know how it was going to happen. And then they would be like, I'm like, okay, just like think about it. Like, how can I bring in $100 or what is it going to feel like if that money shows up? And they'll be like, you will not believe this. I got a check for $500 from this thing that I did 6 years ago and all of a sudden just show, like these stories are amazing. Like when people wake up and they start to become creators in their own lives. Because most of us, I can say probably about age 38, I was asleep in my own life.
A lot of us are.
A lot of us are. And I just kind of did what I was supposed to do. I stayed busy. I was a good girl. I did what all the good girls are supposed to do. I got married. I had kids. I fulfilled my call. I did all the things that I was supposed to be doing in all the shoulds. I was really good at doing shoulds because I'm a control freak. I'm good with lists. I'm good with programming. So I was very good at checking all the boxes and doing all the things that I wasn't looking for myself or what I was supposed to be doing. And when I was able to wake up and realize that I created all the chaos in my life, and all because I was putting so much negative energy and fear in my life, when I was able to shift that and be like, okay, I am really scared of money. I'm scared about not having enough. And guess what? Because I was focusing on that fear, guess what kept showing up for me? Not having enough.
Not enough. Yep.
Not enough, because that's what I was focused on. So when I shifted and was like, I have enough. I'm grateful. I have money in my bank account today. I can go buy whatever I want today. I'm not going to worry about more money coming in the future because it's not the future. Like, I'm going to focus on here and now, being grateful for what I have now. And when I stay in that place, things show up. Money flows.
Yeah.
But when I start to find myself, this is when I have a continual relationship with building, is that fear of the future. And fear of like, okay, I'm good right now, but like, what about this?
Yeah.
Like, I see this drying up. Like, I have to shift my self back to like being grateful for now, and everything always works out for me. Universe loves me. Money's going to flow when it's supposed to. It's going to show up in divine timing. It's all good. But like, we are the creators of our life. And as soon as you can get to that point where you can live, imagination is something that we should never have given up as we grow up. Like, believe in, I mean, it was so easy for us to believe in Santa and believe in fairies and all these beautiful things. But as an adult, we question everything, and we can't even believe in ourselves. But if we can shift to a place of belief and trust, and just a knowing that everything is always working for our greatest, highest good, magic starts to happen in our lives. And going back to transformation and magic in our lives, that's when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny too. As soon as we like shifted into this writing and creating your own story, like, you lit up completely. I can tell that this is like where you love to be. And it's because you're seeing so much transformation. Like you mentioned at the very beginning, one of your gifts and talents is seeing that magic and that potential and gifts in other people. And, I just love that. And I love how you said it's just a little bit every day, because you can look at your life, and if it just feels like a dumpster fire, where you're like, it's not even one aspect of my life, it's literally every single section. Like, everything's on fire and they're just pouring more fire on it. And so it's not like, okay, I'm waking up today, I've got this dream, this visualization of what I want, but it wasn't like, and be that today. It's a little bit every single day, and just leaning in. But you have to use your imagination first to get there. And I loved what you said about like transforming your worry and taking that, like, yeah, how cool is that? And, it's just that reframing everything, like reframing, like, oh, I'm anxious, I'm a warrior, I'm this. It's like, no, you're creative. So like, where do we channel that?
Imagination, because you're imagining these insane things that are never going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, use that same imagination and create a process to focus on building something that you do want. And so my warriors are my favorite ones because they are powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's really interesting with like the words like manifesting and, putting things out there. And people kind of get like worried or turned off or don't know how to do it. But like, newsflash, you're doing it already.
Whether you believe it or not, you're using it in your life.
Yeah.
I can sit down and talk to somebody for 10, 15 minutes, and I know where their thoughts are because I can look at their life and see what they're creating.
Yep. 100%. So like, owning how powerful you are. And sometimes if your life does feel like a dumpster fire, like that reality can be a little harsh, a little bit to be like, So you're saying I created this dumpster fire? And it's like, well, yes.
Sorry to inform you.
You know?
Yeah. Good
It's like
news.
that can be hard.
You can create this massive, powerful dumpster fire. You can create something beautiful that honors you. And that's actually what you're supposed to be creating.
Absolutely. And so, it is just this journey of going inward and like getting to know yourself, having an insane amount of compassion, which is like a learning curve all on its own. But how much magic, like you just said, creating this magic, and can you have when you do that, when you can stop living on autopilot? Like you said, I was asleep to my life. I was just doing all the shoulds. We're getting rid of should.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, use your imagination and like lean in and own it. And that's when, we have all of these, like in February, I'm talking a lot about self-love and treating ourselves with kindness and all of this stuff. And I do think this conversation leads perfectly into that because we're all searching for that, right? Like we all want to love ourselves more. And I think a big part of that is owning all the parts of you.
Right.
And then leaning into the powerful you that you are and creating what you want, because you can do that.
Yeah. And not being scared. Sometimes I think we're scared of our own power. Because especially as women, we are told and we are taught to live small. Oh, you don't want to be too much. You don't want to be too loud. You don't want to be too sexual. You don't want to be too this. You don't want to be too that. You need to tamper it down. And we're scared of allowing ourselves to truly, we're not scared of not a failure. We're scared of it, of success, of being too much. And for shining our right, there's an amazing quote by Marianne Williams, and I try to remember exactly what it said, but it's basically our greatest fear is that we are powerful, that we are magnificent, and allowing ourselves to step into that and truly embody that in our lives. And I think that's so much why there is that programming that we aren't good enough, that we're supposed to play small, because the world is trying to tell us not to be who we are meant to be. And I think that's Satan at play, or whatever you want to call it, dark forces, whatever that energy is that you want to believe in. I mean, it's trying to keep you out of who God made you, who he created you to be. And you're serving no one, especially not God, by not being the greatest, most beautiful version of yourself that you are meant to be.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, step into it and step into it small. Like it's easy to walk away from this conversation and feel like, oh, wow, that's a lot. I have to do, and that's not the point of this at all. The point of this is to like release those shackles from you, like your dream, like let it all fall. Give yourself permission to let it all fall. And if that's all you do, that's great today, and and then with the things that you mentioned, Andy, like get quiet, ask yourself questions, start brain dumping, find a journal prompt, follow Andy because she's got them like
every day,
and it's just like, just start the shift like that, turn the dial just a tiny, tiny bit and you'll get yourself on that path of getting to the point where you love yourself. I mean, like you said, Andy, you started your weight loss journey where this self-love, came in 2013. In case anyone out there is bad at math, that's 9 years ago.
It's been a 9-year cycle.
Yeah. Like, so it's not as much as I would love to snap our fingers and have everything shift. That would be amazing. But you actually can snap your fingers and have it shift.
You can. And I feel like the more we lean into this, and just with, getting into kind of more of the woo-woo world, things are speeding up and we're able to make these shifts quicker and quicker than we used to. Because people are more open and these things are not as taboo as they used to be. So you can start this journey and you can see changes in yourself a lot faster than we could even 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago. So there is that working for you, and that's astrologically speaking. So that's exciting. So there are actual shifts of energy on the planet that are helping and empowering you to make these changes quicker than we ever have been able to before, which is exciting. But it starts with just those. I always tell people, what can you do today to be 1% better?
Yeah.
Like if you can just continually increase and try a little bit every day to be 1% better than you were yesterday, that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Imagine
Absolutely.
what you'll be like in 9 years. You'll be on a show talking about how to love yourself. Like you just,
Exactly.
it's an amazing journey when you let go and you just try to get a little bit better every day.
Absolutely. And you know what? I love what you said too. The stars are in our favor right now. So,
They are in our favor. Really
so good news for everyone, right? Okay, Andy, where can, like, what kind of things are you offering? You say, when I'm working with certain people, you've got coaching going on and stuff. Where can they come to find you?
There's a couple of different ways that I work with clients. I have digital products where you could just buy like a guide. I have some planners that are really fun. I do offer customized macro plans, so they are based on based on your body type. And then I also do. I'm going to ask you for your date of birth and your time of birth, so I can put together some really cool energetic things that will help you on your weight loss journey. So it's kind of different than anything else out there. And then also another deeper level is I do one-on-one coaching. So that's also something that I do. And that's actually where I have the most fun, is because I can really dive deep with people. I can get into those stories from their childhood. I can help them. One of my my greatest gift is seeing what you can't see in yourself. So I ask questions that help you get to the answer that you're looking for. And it really is a partnership. And if you invite me on your journey, I would love to be a part of it and help you get to that most glorious version of yourself. And that's through the one-on-one coaching process.
I love it. One-on-one coaching is the best. I have loved talking to you. I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation. I know they did. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks, Andy.
See you, Jess.